Ladies and gentlemen, my account is slowly but ever so surely becoming a little bit more endgame viable, a little bit more cracked out. The downside is the reason that my account is getting better is the same reason that everybody else's account is getting better. So, am I actually getting better inside the game? I don't know. We'll see. But today, we're talking about Karnage the Anarch. I finally got him. I pulled him during one of the PR CVCs last week, or 2 weeks ago, technically, I guess it would be. And then I've just been working on farming his masteries, and then we also had the Ishiyama fusion going on, so I was kind of, hard-pressed for energy, so to speak. But we finally have Karnage built out. We're going to be going into his kit today, deep dive into what makes him so good, how to build him, sets you're looking for on him, and all those sorts of things. Real quick, just to get this out of the way, channel memberships are live. Go ahead and hit that join button down below if you want to support the channel a little bit more than the regular viewer. Of course, go ahead and subscribe and hit the bell notification if you just want to support the channel that way as well. That is perfectly fine. And finally, Discord is linked down below if you want to hop in there, share your builds, ask questions, share your arena progress, whatever you might want. Now, if you're not familiar with Karnage and why he's so strong, I'd recommend going ahead and taking a look at my video where I talked about the most important content in the game, because it involves Karnage. So let's go ahead and take a look at his kit here. Base form, A1, Suffer Slash, attacks one enemy 2 times, has a 50% chance of removing 1 random buff from the target. That would already be a pretty cracked A1, right? However, it also has a passive effect that whenever an enemy hits this champion or an ally has a 50% chance to counterattack with this skill. This chance increases by 10% for each debuff on the enemy. If you have 5 debuffs out there, it's a 100% chance to counterattack with this skill whenever somebody's hit. And the thing to consider is it's you, as in Karnage, but also any ally. So anytime an ally is getting smacked up with this, he has the chance to counterattack too, which is just insane. A2, Devilish Accord, attacks one enemy 2 times before attacking, swaps HP with an enemy, then steals all buffs from them, also transfers all debuffs from this champion to the target, and places a seal debuff on the target for 2 turns. This debuff cannot be removed. It's a protected debuff. It's insane. This debuff cannot be resisted or blocked if the target has 50% HP or less, and you'll see from the damage scaling, he scales on attack as well as accuracy. Plus, he has ignore resistance as part of his, books that you can put into him. He's absolutely insane. And finally, we have an A3, Trinity of Pain, attacks one enemy 3 times. The first hit places a block passive for 2 turns. This debuff cannot be removed, so it's protected. The second hit places a block active for 2 turns. This debuff cannot be removed. And the third hit steals 100% of the target's turn meter, right? And this already seems like an absolutely insane kit, but it gets better, ladies and gentlemen. Oh, does it get better? Passive, Avatar of Anarchy. Each hit this champion deals from skills has a 50% chance of applying a debuff spread effect, taking 1 random debuff from the target and placing it on all enemies. It gets even worse. Whenever this champion kills an enemy, 100% chance of placing a debuff spread effect, taking all debuffs from the target and placing them on all enemies. This effect cannot be resisted, ladies and gentlemen. So let's get this straight on a base form. You have an absolute powerhouse of a nuke that you are building with speed, attack, and accuracy, who also places debuffs that are protected, who can also place debuffs that are unresistible, right? And can also spread those debuffs. It is insane, and it's not just his debuff, right? If you have stuns out there, I haven't seen the stuns spread quite yet in my testing, but block active skills, block passives, decrease speeds, decrease defense, weaken, poisons, any sort of debuff on the enemy champion, he has a chance to spread those, and he is guaranteeing that it's going to happen anytime he kills somebody. And with his A3, he can kill basically anybody in the game. It's absolutely insane, right? Because the first hit places the block passive, so you're going to get around a lot of champions like Harima, UDK, Taurus, Rotos, any sort of a champion like that generally can't be killed very easily. You're going to get around that as long as you have the accuracy and they don't have stone skin. And finally, he has an aura of speed in arena battles by 33%, just casually one of the best auras in the entire game. This guy is an absolute nutcase, and we haven't even looked at his alternate form yet. So let's go ahead and take a look at the alternate form. A1, Demon Stinger, attacks one enemy 2 times, heals this champion by 20% of the damage inflicted. Passive effect, Same thing, essentially. Whenever somebody hits this champion or an ally, 50% chance to counterattack, right? Increasing by 10%. Singularity of Pain on the A2 attacks all enemies, ignores shields. Will also ignore ally protection buffs when attacking enemies under 1 or more debuffs, and unkillable buffs when attacking enemies under 2 or more debuffs. And keep in mind, he can just straight up place his own debuffs to meet those requirements. And finally, the A3 Infernal Stars AoE times 2. If a target is killed by this skill while under 3 or more different debuffs, which he can bring and spread, places a block revive on them. Also heals this champion by 30% of the damage dealt. This guy is ridiculous. He also has a passive Unending Carnage. This champion's crit damage is increased by 1% for every 3 points of accuracy they have. Also ignores 10% of the target's defense for each debuff they're under. This is ridiculous. You build him with lethal, he's ignoring 25% defense. You build him with Helm Smasher, when he procs it, 50% of defense gone. You place 3 debuffs from him, you're now ignoring 80% of any single champion's defense, which is just absolutely insane, as well as placing the debuffs that allow him to go around a lot of the damage reducing champions inside the game. This guy is absolutely freaking nuts, right? So let's go ahead and take a look at the build here. Now, I want to be clear that there are a lot of stats left on the table in this build, right? So he has 243 speed, decent on the speed, a little bit low on the attack at 4,900, and definitely low on the crit damage at 233. However, I want to try and pump a bit of accuracy on him, so he's at 435, and there's a lot of gear pieces that could just simply be better, which we'll go over as well. In his alternate form, we have 6,200 attack, because his base attack goes from 1476 all the way up to a 1960 base attack. Absolute insanity. And then he's also going to have that passive crit damage increase as well. So let's go ahead and take a look at the gear and how you can do it better. So first of all, this chest plate is a 5-star chest plate with accuracy ascension, so it's good for him. But if you had this 6-star with some good substats on here, it would be an infinite upgrade, right? So I'm just going to go through the pieces here so you can kind of see the stats that we got on him. In terms of stat priorities, Karnage is actually somebody, and this is a huge one, by the way, real quick, just to get distracted. His amulet is an attack amulet with triple roll accuracy. If you had a crit damage amulet on here, he's going to do so much better. Again, if you had a 5-star banner as well, he's going to do so much better. I'll show you, though, my stone skin is looking pretty desolate inside the demon spawn. I don't even have much of it equipped right now, right? So definitely looking a little desolate here when it comes to the stone skin. So, you know, if you have better stone skin on your account, he's going to be very, very much better, right? So good English there too. But yeah, if you had better gear on him, he's going to perform better, obviously, right? The other thing to consider is that with that crit damage amulet, you're going to do more damage. On top of that, once you start to get the ascensions from City of Centranos, he's going to become even more cracked out, because if we take a look at any sort of a blessing, so let's say we're running him in like a sheep, which I think most people are going to do, right? We're going to get like 11,000 HP, we're going to get like 900 extra attack, crap ton of defense, over 40%, so 45% extra crit damage. We'll also get like 90 extra accuracy and resistance, as well as 20 extra speed once you have him 6-star awakened. So this guy's absolutely insane. In terms of the stats that you're looking for, I'd recommend building him anywhere between 230 to 250 speed, which does seem low, but we'll talk about why. So Karnage is a bit unique in the way that you actually want him slower and inside stone skin. That way he can essentially ensure that anytime you're getting attacked, he has that chance to counterattack, right? So he can definitely still be very useful even when he's, you know, not taking turns, which is incredible because, for example, some of the other strongest damage dealers you might be using, like Sun Wukong, Marius for the most part, certainly Harima, you know, Trundas, Elvas, Supreme Elhanes, whoever you might be using, 9 times out of 10, like a Nishak or something like that as well is a big example, 9 times out of 10, they have to be taking turns to do damage, but with his masteries, which we'll talk about here in a moment, combined with his passive on the A1, he can still do a crap ton of damage out of turn, and he really just needs one turn to get those debuffs up, and then he's spreading them with his A1 when he goes in there and whacks them anyways, right? So absolutely insane stuff. So I'd recommend 4 pieces Stone Skin to make sure that he gets that 1 turn of Stone Skin at minimum, and then I'd recommend running him inside Lethal, Savage, or Merciless on top. Merciless you can't really do though because you won't have enough pieces to get the Ignore defense, so Merciless isn't the best, but you could certainly run him inside, what is this other set? The Pay to Win set here. Let's take a look. So you'd also run him inside Instinct, which is going to give you a bit of extra speed. Certainly Stone Cleaver could be an option these days now as well if you have insane stats, right, on those gear sets, and then you can really just start to blast through the enemy team's defense. And then obviously you could technically run him inside Slayer as well, though I wouldn't really recommend it because he's not heavily AoE focused, right? Certainly not on his Form 1. Now let's go ahead and talk about masteries. This is how we have him built out here. So on the left-hand side, we are coming down to Helm Smasher. I also have Kill Streak, and I have Opportunist. I also have Cycle of Violence, Ruthless Ambush, and then we're coming down the defense tree, of course, here to the counter-attack masteries. The way I see it, anytime we can get extra counterattacks on a champion that can already counterattack when he's doing crazy things on those counterattacks, it's going to be a win, right? So those are the masteries I went with. When we're talking about relics, right now I have him in my Wand of Submission, which is probably, like, debatably the best relic on my account. I have the Volcadric Heart, or Volcardiac Heart. I have the Gore Crescent, which isn't really going to be, you know, too insane on him, I don't think. So essentially just running him inside Wand of Submission is going to be the way that I go. In terms of the glyphs, this is kind of how we're looking here. So basically just 90 extra resistance anytime somebody's trying to put CCs on us. So we have almost 100 extra resistance, which stacks up on top of our 179, which isn't much, but it should hopefully be enough to try and resist like Sun Wukong A3s and those sorts of things. And then, you know, if you have other glyphs that you can put in here that just amplify damage, you know, go for it, right? You're also going to have great effect running him inside a DPS relic. So something like the Gore Crescent is going to be fantastic. You can obviously run him inside the Cat's Gaze if you so desire. There's a lot of good options that you could use for him. Essence Quencher will be very strong as well, especially when he's counterattacking, because keep in mind, he's going to have lower turn meter than the rest of them, so generally they're going to have a higher turn meter, which means that his damage is going to get increased. And then the crit damage scaling on there is pretty crazy too. And I may actually switch him over. We'll see if I can get some good Stone Skin pieces here in the future Hydra clashes, because he does definitely need more crit damage. So that's the stats, that's the build, that's a little bit of the strategy behind it. Let's go ahead and walk through the ratings here. Arena Offense, easy 5. Faction Wars, easy 5. Hydra, he's actually going to be a 5 as well. Scratch put out a video recently talking about how good he is. Campaign Locations, also a 5. This guy's a fantastic campaign farmer. Minotaur's Labyrinth, I don't know what people are on here. He's a 5. Now, Chimera, definitely going to be a 3. He doesn't do anything too incredibly special to really warrant being used there. Spirit Keeps, as always, basically everybody gets rated a 5 there. When we're talking about the Fire Knight's Castle, I'm probably going to give him a 2. Same thing with Iron Twins. He's not really doing anything incredibly useful there. Obviously, his A3 on his Form 1 can steal 100% of the turn meter, but that's really only going to be useful inside Fire Knight Normal. So by the time you have this guy, you're almost certainly going to be farming Fire Knight Hard, where he's not really going to benefit you that much. Force Keep, 5. Ice Golem's Peak. He could definitely be decent, especially for those block revives, but I think I'll give him a 3 there. Dragon's Lair, probably about a 4. He doesn't do anything special. Spiders, probably about a 3. Sand Devil's a 3. Phantom Shogun, also a 3. Sand Devils, we're actually going to give him a 1. He's not very good there. Void Keep, obviously we're going to give him a 5. Magic Keep, same thing. Demon Lord, give him a 3 because he can do damage, but he's not really a specialist. So those are the ratings for him. Let's go ahead now and run him inside some content here. So we're going to go into Dragon. Usually we test on Dragon 20, but we're going to go ahead and test on Dragon 23 just so we have Void Affinity here and you can really see the damage across the board. Now, I'm not going to go through and show you every single skill because he has like 5 or 6 skills that we would have to test. So, you know, just kind of muck around and get that damage testing yourself. What we are going to do, though, is show you the Trinity of Pain as well as his second form. So we're going to go ahead and whack into, like, the the Renegade here, and you can see he's putting out big hits for almost 60k across the board. Then he's also getting the block passives and block actives on there as well. Now, keep in mind, like I said, he could have a lot of damage left on the table, obviously, right? So if you have better gear that you can put on him, he performs better. Simple as that. We're going to hit with the Infernal Stars, a double hitting AoE. Boom. There we go. Block revive. We hit for about 100k across the board, and that's a 2x hitter, so like a 200k. And again, he's not ascended, right? He's not, or rather awakened. He's not awakened. He doesn't have a crit damage amulet. He's got very low attack, all things considered, for end game accounts. And he doesn't even have a relic that's going to amplify his damage. And he also just gets sat down by the Faceless there, which is kind of funny, but not really his fault. We're going to go ahead. We're going to run this one more time, and we're going to test the damage of some of his other skills. So we're going to go ahead and get the decreased defense and the weaken there. Essentially, with this, I'm more so showing you guys how to build him and how useful he is, even with a suboptimal build. That way, when you build yours, you kind of know the stats you're looking for, so you're, you're good to go. We're going to get that seal there. The seal is spread. Now, I failed to mention this, but essentially what the seal debuff does is it stops any sort of artifact sets from taking effect. So any gear sets, right? So you think about how powerful that is, that we have seal on all of them. If this was a PvP match, that would be absolutely insane. Why is that? Well, it prevents lethal from working. Savage. It prevents, the newer sets. So like the revival sets that are placing the block damage and stuff like that. It prevents speed sets from working. It stops your, stone skin sets from working, just giving the extra stats, right? So it's absolutely insane. We're going to hit the AoE smack here as well. Boom! We get over 100k across the board. Absolutely insane numbers here from Karnage, considering how he's built currently. I cannot wait to get the awakenings for this dude, but we're going to go ahead. We're going to take him into Arena and see what he is capable here of as well. So I think what we'll try to run him against is maybe some sort of like a control team. So something like this could be perfect. So we'll actually bring him in instead of the Karnage. Or instead of the Embrace, excuse me. He is Karnage. So everybody on my team is going to be in Stone Skin, so we're not incredibly worried about the Armands. The only thing that will be kind of annoying is the Fabian. But Fabian's got a fear because of the Taurus, so it kind of is what it is. Now, she tries to do her AoE, attack, which is kind of funny. We do have the Fabian locking us out there, but we get the counterattack from the Karnage. As you can see, Taurus is, showing him up a little bit maybe in terms of the damage output, which is kind of funny. And then he sits down because, his crowd, or his Stone Skin was gone. But, I mean, realistically, let's just go ahead and run this against another team. That was probably a bad showcase of the Karnage there. We could bring some other team to keep him, or some other champions to keep him alive as well. He is very squishy, obviously, as you'd expect, right? Like, he's not really, built to be tanky. All things considered, a little bit lower damage output in the arena, just considering that he doesn't have, really the stats to be a nuker. So just something to consider there. But you can see how often he's putting out those counterattacks as well is absolutely insane. Basically, every time we've been hit so far, he's counterattacked, which is pretty crazy. We're going to go ahead and metamorph over to our second form here. Now, we do have the Ignore Unkillable, but he's got block damage, so we're not really too worried about that. We're just going to go ahead and A1 into the Eustrid here, take her out with the 40k hit there times 2, or 20k, I've already forgot, but it is what it is. Let's go ahead and see if we can't get the Eustrid here. He does unfortunately sit down due to the Cheshire Cat just clapping him there, which is a bit unfortunate. I think we'll go ahead and just bring in somebody besides Taurus, so a little bit more of a defensive team so that you can kind of see what we got going. I think we'll bring Freya just for her passive to help keep him alive. Now, obviously, it may be smart essentially just to kind of scale back the stats that he has, so essentially scaling down the accuracy to maybe like 300 or something like that. You could even obviously switch over to Eagle Eye to get essentially the better accuracy on him. But we're going to go ahead and just A1 here. Now, unfortunately, they have a bunch of defensive buffs up as well, so his damage is probably going to look a little bit lackluster. But you can see the counterattacks just coming in here and absolutely decimating as well. We're going to go ahead and hit that AoE. Boom! We do take out the Eustrid, and we trigger the Cheshire Cat's passive. The Warlord obviously is still alive. We get the triple hit there from the Cheshire Cat, which is completely overrides the Freya's passive, which I completely forgot about. That's kind of funny, though. We're going to go ahead. We're going to run against a team like this. It is obviously nice to have the Karnage on your team where he can essentially not worry about being locked out, right? So, obviously, the champions like Fabian that come in and lock out, we first of all counterattack them. We have him inside the... Oh my god, I forgot the name of the relic. We have him inside the... why can I not remember it? The Wand of Submission, there we go. And then additionally, we obviously have the counterattack masteries as well. They'll help out a little bit as well, right? So there we go. We take out everybody except the Armands because it was a weak hit. So you can definitely start to see he looks a little better now. We have a Polymorph coming in there as well. We get a counterattack from the Karnage, which is big, and then Freya comes in and finishes the job off. Definitely, you know, decent damage there. A team like this would be pretty crazy to go against, but we'll go ahead and give it a try. I don't know if we're going to win this just because I haven't really tuned my team to go against this specific comp, you know. Let's go ahead and buff up here with the Freya. They're all incredibly slow, which does bode well for us. And then obviously we are inside Stone Skin, which helps a lot as well. We actually get the freeze there too. Going to buff up again with the Harima, get the Strengthen out here. I think we'll go ahead and hit the Calamitous. We get the block passives all across the board, which means that Siegfried is now not able to proc his block damage, which is huge. We also get the seal on him, which is big as well. Everybody else has block active, so they can't metamorph. They also can't use anything apart from their A1. So you can really see how Karnage, even if he's not doing, you know, obscene levels of damage, he's still an incredibly good champion to have on your team, obviously, right? Like, he is big. Now we're going to go ahead and metamorph here, and then we're going to go ahead and just do his A2. Boom, take everybody out. We did have the block passives fall off on the Siegfried there, which means that he was able to block his, or proc his block damage, unfortunately, which is a bit of a shame. We're going to go ahead and heal up and then also buff up here as well, get the absolutely insane shields from the, and there it is. Now we have him switch over, which is a bit unfortunate. He's going to go ahead and revive, so the battle does get extended a little bit, but probably not that much longer, to be honest. We don't have a way to, you know, ignore, like, block damage or anything like this, so some sort of a champion that can strip or remove buffs or something like that would be perfect. So, for example, a Fabian would be a good companion to run with him, obviously considering that he brings one of the strongest speed auras as well. Fabian's obviously going to be very, very strong for that. Now, I think I might have screwed up here, and there's a non-zero chance that we do lose this, unfortunately, just because I did allow the Siegfried to proc his passive, but we'll see. We'll see what we're able to do here. Tried to get some turn meter pushback there on the Calamitous, but it didn't work, unfortunately. And he does a little bit of a slam into us there, but it's okay. We do survive it. We have Queen of Hearts coming in and smacking us as well. We do have the instant turn, so Karnage almost died there, which is pretty crazy. I think we'll go ahead and do... I think we'll go ahead and do our A3 here, just because it can heal him. And then, additionally, it just does take out the Queen of Hearts there, obviously, so it's kind of a win-win. Now, we'll buff up with the rest of our team, and we should be cooking here. The Siegfried shouldn't have a revive, but, I mean, you know, we also have the counterattacks going off consistently because he's hitting us so often, so Siegfried's getting hit up there. Calamitous is very annoying to go against these days, but he's also not an incredibly good champion. I am curious about the player power of this account. I'll have to take a look after, but let's go ahead and metamorph back here. We will go ahead and do this. So we get the seal on him. We don't spread it, but we do kill him, fortunately. We're really just looking to take out the Siegfried here. Although I also wouldn't be entirely surprised if he metamorphed right away. He also brings back the revive with the 2 turns of block damage. My god. My god. They don't have block debuffs though, so we'll go ahead and try to do this. We get block passives across the board at least, which is good. So we now don't have to worry about Queen of Hearts getting extra turn procs. The Calamitous is about to get clapped again too because he lost his block damage. Because of the Karnage A1 there, obviously, where he has a chance to remove the buffs. Like, look at that. We remove the buffs from both of them. We get a debuff spread as well. We do have to be careful here because he had the Death Brand, but we'll go ahead and remove that. Now let's go ahead and A1 into the Calamitous here. We remove a buff from him, but we weren't able to kill him, unfortunately. So we'll just AoE with Freya. Now we're hoping that the Siegfried is going to lose his block damage here right away so that I can slam into him. Would be quite nice. Take out the Queen of Hearts. Siegfried should go right away. I want to... There's the Metamorph. What an annoying champion. At least now we can whack into him, though. Maybe trigger his passive. No, we weak hit on both. Fantastic. We're going to go ahead and get a boost turn meter here. Oh. Excuse the sneezes. Alright, let's go ahead and do this. We get a block active on the Siegfried, which is good at least. So he can still trigger his block damage, but he can't revive even if he metamorphs, which is pretty nice. So we'll go ahead and shield up here. Now this battle has like no business being this long, but I mean it is what it is at this point. He is going to trigger his block damage there. My god, this guy is insane. We have the block damage on him for one more turn. He can't metamorph now, which is pretty nice, because everybody else is dead and he missed his chance to do it, so that's awesome. And we have him down pretty much dead there. Freya comes in, finishes the job off. What an annoying team to go against. 4.2 million player power account, by the way. I was getting bullied by somebody who just like started the game and swiped their credit card a few times, but it is what it is. That being said, this has been a 26-minute showcase already on Karnage. Let me know down below, of course, if you use him, where you use him, and what your stats are on him so far. I'd be very curious to hear about it. That being said, though, as always, thank you guys so much for watching. I'll see you next time.